Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you've been sewing for any length of time, you already know that not every sewing machine on the market deserves a spot in your sewing room. Some of them look great in a product photo. They've got flashy stitch counts, cute LED screens, maybe even a celebrity endorsement. And then 2 weeks later they're jamming, skipping stitches, or sitting in a landfill. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to walk you through 7 sewing machine situations, brands, categories, and red flags that I see wreck beginner sewist budgets and confidence over and over again. And because I don't want to leave you hanging with nothing but bad news, I'm also going to tell you the 2 brands that, after decades in this industry, I trust with my own money and recommend to my own students. Before we dive in, quick disclaimer: no brand is perfect across every single model they've ever made. Companies change factories, they change suppliers, they release a dud here and there. What I'm talking about today are patterns, the stuff that shows up again and again in repair shops, in owner reviews, and in sewing communities across the U.S. So if you've got a machine from one of these brands and it's been great to you, that's wonderful, genuinely. But if you're shopping right now, here's what you need to know before you swipe that card. Let's get into it. The toy aisle trap: ultra cheap and no-name machines. Let's start with the single biggest source of sewing machine heartbreak in America, the sub-$50 mini portable sewing machines you see all over Amazon and Walmart.com, usually with names that sound vaguely official but mean nothing. Handheld, 12-stitch, mini electric, sold under constantly rotating brand names that pop up and disappear within a year. Here's the thing about these machines: they're not really designed to sew garments. They're designed to be cheap enough that a return doesn't hurt the seller. Community threads on sites like Slick Deals are full of exactly this story. Someone buys one of these for $30 to $50, the throat space is too small to maneuver real fabric, and the consensus from experienced sewists is always the same: spend a little more and get an actual brand. One repair-savvy commenter put it bluntly when someone asked about a bargain mini machine, warning that cheap imported plastic machines just aren't built for real sewing work. The mechanical problem here is almost always the same 3 things: plastic gears that were never designed to handle sustained tension, a motor too weak to punch through more than one layer of quilting cotton, and a bobbin system that jams constantly because the tolerances are sloppy. You'll spend more money and time trying to make a $35 machine work than you would have spent just buying something decent from the start. Bottom line: if a sewing machine costs less than a nice dinner out for 2, ask yourself what got cut to hit that price. Usually, it's everything that matters. Knockoff brands riding on real brands' names. This one is sneaky, and it's gotten worse in the last couple of years thanks to how marketplaces like Amazon and Temu work. There are brands out there with names deliberately designed to look like a typo or a cousin of a trusted brand. The most talked about example right now is a brand called Juki. Yes, clearly riding on the coattails of Juki, one of the most respected names in the industry. Don't confuse the two. Juki is a legitimate Japanese manufacturer with a long industrial sewing pedigree. Juki is not Juki. Owner feedback on these knockoff-style machines shows a consistent pattern: thread breaking constantly, skipped stitches, and mechanisms jamming up within weeks of normal use, with a meaningful share of complaints pointing specifically at threading failures and general durability problems. The scary part is how these brands operate. Limited market presence means when something breaks, and something will break, there's often no real customer support structure behind the product. You can't call a 1-800 number and get a technician. You can't walk into a Jo-Ann or a local dealer and get it serviced, because these companies typically don't have any relationship with brick-and-mortar sewing machine dealers at all. How to protect yourself: before you buy anything online, search the exact brand name plus the word reviews, and specifically look for whether the company has an actual U.S. website, a support phone number, and dealer network. If all you can find is the same product relisted under 5 different store names, that's your answer. Discontinued department store brands. Looking at you, Kenmore. Now, I want to be careful here because vintage Kenmore machines from Sears actually earned a loyal following for decades, largely because many of them were manufactured for Sears by legitimate companies, including Janome. So this isn't a Kenmore was always junk argument. This is a buying one today is a gamble argument. Sears officially exited the sewing machine business around 2013. That means there is no current parts pipeline, no current warranty, and no current customer support from Kenmore for sewing machines. Independent repair shops confirm this constantly. One shop owner, when asked to fix something as simple as a tension spring on a Kenmore, had to turn the customer away specifically because they no longer receive parts or technical support for Kenmore models, even for repairs that would otherwise take 5 minutes. You can still find some replacement parts through secondhand and salvage channels, and if you already own a well-maintained vintage Kenmore, by all means keep sewing on it. Plenty of them are genuinely solid machines. But if you're looking at a great deal on a used Kenmore at a garage sale or a thrift store in 2026, understand what you're actually buying. A machine with zero manufacturer support, where every single repair depends entirely on whether a local shop happens to have the right part lying around. Bottom line, discontinued brands can be fine to own, but they are a bad brand to shop for. There's a difference. Entry-level imported Singer models. Okay, I know this one is going to ruffle some feathers because Singer built the entire home sewing industry. Vintage Singers from the mid-20th century, we're talking Metal Gear machines from the 1950s and 60s, are genuinely fantastic, and plenty of Suis still hunt them down specifically because they're basically indestructible. But that's not the Singer sitting on the shelf at your local big box store today. Modern entry-level Singer machines, many manufactured overseas, have built up a documented pattern of complaints that shows up across consumer review platforms: buttonhole functions bending or snapping needles, foot pedals that stop responding within the first month, tension problems that never fully resolve even after a service visit. One customer summed up a feeling I see over and over in these reviews: that Singer machines just aren't built the way they used to be, and that the brand isn't what it was for previous generations of their family. The root mechanical issue mirrors what we talked about with the ultra-cheap machines, just one tier up. Heavy reliance on plastic gears and internal components in places where earlier generations of machines used metal. That doesn't automatically make a machine bad. Plenty of well-engineered machines use plastic strategically in spots that aren't under heavy load. The complaints suggest that on a lot of these current entry-level Singer models, that engineering discipline isn't consistently there. My honest take: if you specifically want a Singer, look at their mechanical mid-range or higher-end lines rather than the cheapest model on the shelf. Read recent model-specific reviews before you buy, and consider a proper local dealer over a big-box store. Dealers can actually service what they sell. Mystery dropship brands that change their name every season. Have you ever noticed that some sewing machines seem to be sold under 6 different brand names, but they're clearly the exact same machine with a different sticker on the front? That's the dropship/white label problem, and it's exploded with the rise of online marketplaces. These are machines manufactured cheaply overseas, then licensed out to whichever seller wants to slap a brand name on them that month. This year it might be called One Thing on Amazon. Next year, when enough 1-star reviews pile up, the exact same machine reappears under a brand new name with a fresh set of 5-star reviews from day one. There's no company history to check, no track record to Google, and, critically, no consistent customer support because the company behind it may not exist in 6 months. The giveaway signs: a brand name you've genuinely never heard of before this exact shopping session, a listing with hundreds of stock photos and zero information about who actually makes the machine, and a suspiciously huge stitch count like 197 built-in stitches. On a machine priced under $150, real machines with that many quality stitch options usually cost significantly more, because that many well-executed stitch patterns require real engineering, not just more numbers printed on a dial. Bottom line, if you can't find the company's actual corporate history or AUS base support line, assume you're on your own the day something breaks. Fashion, sewing machines sold by non-sewing companies. This one's a little different. It's less about a specific brand and more about a category. Sewing machines released as a side project by companies whose whole business is something else entirely: a general housewares brand, a craft supply company, a big electronics retailer's in-house label. You'll see these pop up especially around the holidays, marketed hard toward beginners and kids who want to learn to sew. The problem is straightforward. Sewing machines are mechanically complex little pieces of engineering, with tension systems, feed dogs, and bobbin mechanisms that took the real manufacturers decades to refine. A company that mostly sells kitchen gadgets or holiday decor typically doesn't have that institutional knowledge, and it shows in the stitch quality, the noise level, and the lifespan of the machine. If you're buying a first machine for a young sewist in your life, resist the cute packaging aimed at kids. A genuinely beginner-friendly machine from an actual sewing machine manufacturer, something like a Starter Brother or a basic Janome, will cost a bit more but will actually teach proper sewing technique instead of teaching frustration. Any machine with no dealer network and no replacement parts available. Last category, and this is really the thread running through everything we've covered. Buying a sewing machine from any brand, where you cannot find a single authorized dealer or repair technician within a reasonable distance, and where a basic search for replacement parts, bobbins, presser feet, needles specific to that model, comes up mostly empty. This is a bigger deal than people realize. Sewing machines need maintenance. Tension springs wear out, bobbin cases need occasional replacement, feed dog timing needs adjustment. If a brand has no U.S. service network, every single one of those normal maintenance events becomes a crisis instead of a quick, affordable fix. Before buying any machine, especially online, I want you to do one 5-minute check. Search brand name, authorized dealer near me, and search brand name, sewing machine parts. If both come up empty or sketchy, walk away, no matter how good the price looks. The 2 brands I actually recommend. Alright, let's talk about what to buy instead. After decades around sewing machines, my own, my students', machines that have come across a repair bench, 2 brands consistently earn their reputation rather than just advertising it. Janome. Janome is, in my opinion, the most underrated major sewing machine manufacturer sold in the United States. It doesn't have the flashy marketing budget of some competitors, but ask any experienced sewing machine repair technician which brand causes them the fewest headaches, and Janome comes up constantly. Their computerized machines have a strong reputation for electronic reliability specifically, which matters enormously now that most modern machines rely on onboard circuit boards rather than purely mechanical parts. A machine with unreliable electronics isn't fixable the way a mechanical issue is. You're stuck waiting on a part or a whole new board. Janome has built its name on avoiding exactly that problem. They also happen to be the manufacturer behind a lot of machines that got sold under other store brand names over the decades, including many of the later Kenmore machines we talked about earlier, which tells you something about how trusted their engineering is even by other companies. For beginners, look at their entry mechanical lines. For anyone ready to step up, their mid-range computerized machines hit a sweet spot of features versus reliability that's hard to beat, typically landing in the $300 to $600 range depending on the model and current promotions. Juki. Juki comes from a background in industrial and commercial sewing equipment, and that DNA shows up even in their home machines. If you've ever wondered why some home machines sound and feel almost identical to what you'd find in a small garment shop, it's usually because they're a Juki. Their machines are known for powerful, consistent motors that punch through multiple layers of denim or canvas without hesitating, precise stitch quality even at higher speeds, and a jam-resistant bobbin system that a lot of home sewists specifically seek out after getting frustrated with lesser machines. Juki home machines tend to sit in a similar mid-range price bracket, roughly $300 to $500 for a well-regarded entry model, and they're a favorite among quilters specifically because of how well they handle bulky layers. Between the 2, if you want the gentlest learning curve and rock-solid electronics, go Janome. If you want raw mechanical muscle, and you're doing a lot of heavier fabric work, go Juki. Either way, you're buying into a company that's been in this exact business, seriously, for a very long time, not a brand that showed up on a marketplace last spring. So that's the list, 7 traps to watch out for, and 2 brands that have genuinely earned their reputation through decades of consistent quality. Remember, the golden rules here are simple. Check for a real U.S. dealer network, check that replacement parts actually exist, and be honest with yourself about whether a rock-bottom price is a deal or a warning sign. If this saved you from making an expensive mistake, or if you learned something new about a brand you already own, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more sewists who need to see it. If you're not subscribed yet, now's a great time, because I've got a whole series coming up comparing specific models head-to-head. And down in the comments, I want to hear from you. What sewing machine are you currently sewing on, and has it held up? Let's compare notes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy sewing!